Inshallah, we start to stream now.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. We will begin. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh to all the brothers and sisters who are currently right now on YouTube. We will begin our program for tonight. Lexbuzz new semester hat in shortly and around 1 minute left. Okay. Don't forget to share to others so that they can join and collect the stuff for tonight. Not only that, for tips and tricks that will be given by the panelists for tonight. All right. The clock already been set around 8:33 tonight. So the program should be start around 8:30. We sorry because 3 minutes late because tadi ada dan kejap. So Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good evening to all the brothers and sisters, and not to forget our dearest panelists for tonight. So let us begin with Umul Kitab Al-Fatih. We bid a warm welcome to all the brothers and sisters to Lexbuzz new semester hack talk. We appreciate you taking your time off of your busy schedule for today, because we know that right now on week 3 on CFS IIUM itself, we already having upcoming quizzes, assignment, worksheet, tasks, and so on and so forth that make our schedule so packed. So we appreciate you taking your time off, because you're gonna learn a lot from tonight, because Lexbuzz new semester hat. Before that, I'd like to say that to Sister Sharifah, why you look so sparkling tonight? Like we are doing AJL host, am I right?
Masya Allah, of course I have to look presentable in front of our amazing panelists and beloved audience tonight.
If you're saying like that, I'm also always look handsome in this attire, just like Brother Abuza and Brother Adib Shahmi. But yeah, I cannot deny with that, right? So, how about you, Sharifah?
What? How about me?
What do you think about me and Brother Adib and Brother Abuza for tonight?
You guys look very decent tonight, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Sharifah. Enough with chit chat. We will come here to become a host, not a panelist for tonight. So, may I have you guys punya attention for tonight. Stay with us until the end of the program, and not to forget to have some drinks to accompany you until the end of the program.
So, before we begin, let me introduce our panelists for tonight. Our first panelist is Brother Abuza bin Muhammad Anwar, a third-year student. He is currently pursuing Bachelor of Laws at the International Islamic University Malaysia, Gombak.
Assalamualaikum guys, my name is Abuza. So hopefully all of you feeling charming and feeling excited to hear from us the tips and maybe the hacks to wrap the semester, inshallah.
Inshallah. So next we have Sister Imtiaz Wisni Aufa binti Osman, a fourth-year student. She is also pursuing Bachelor of Laws at the International Islamic University Malaysia, Gombak.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. I am Imtiaz, final year, final semester law student at ICOL. Allow me to add 3 other points about myself which may be helpful for you to understand the perspective of my later answers. I am an introvert. I don't possess the stereotype law student traits. Number 2, I have experienced getting Dean's List and not getting Dean's List. Number 3, while studying, I have also been part of LawSOC, Legal Aid Club. I have been to one exchange program for a semester, and I have been in 2 competitions. So that's for perspective lah. Thank you.
Masya Allah. Thank you, Sister Imtiaz. So last but not least, we have Brother Muhammad Adib Shahmi bin Muhammad Bahari, a first-year student. He is currently pursuing Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery at the International Islamic University Malaysia, Kuantan.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Adib. For those who are watching right now, thank you for joining us. And for those who still remember me, I was one of your Ta'arufik committees back then during Ta'arufik. So it's a pleasure to meet everyone again. And that just means I'm a year older than you, that's all. And if any of you have any opportunities to ask questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them. So hope everyone enjoys tonight. Lexbuzz new semester hacks, inshallah.
Inshallah, Brother Adib. Wow, Sister Sharifah, our panelists for today are so inspiring indeed. It is truly for a loss for some student who doesn't actually want to join this program, this new semester hack program. It is currently a brand new program, because I don't see another society doing this, giving out giving out some panelists to give some tips and to give some tips on how to start their semester. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this program. So then all the CFS students can gain some benefits out of this program. So without further ado, let's begin our program for tonight.
So today's topic is very simple and straightforward. New semester hacks. As we all know, many of us are busy gearing up for the semester. And now, with the attendance of our panelists tonight, we will learn everything there is to know about this topic.
Yes, truly, Sister Sharifah, because we can see that Sister Imtiaz with me already said that she already have 3 characteristics that she already point out in her introduction. And one of the characteristics that one of the point that she point out that actually catches my mind, catches my eyes, which is that she actually have been facing before this become a dean's list and not become a dean's list. That's basically what kind of that kind of experience that we want to hear as a committee, as a student at the CFS IIUM. So enough with chit chat with the host. Let's begin with our first segment. The first segment, pre-COVID student versus post-COVID student, is one better than the other. A way of us to start this program, Lexbuzz new semester hack, because we actually want to know how actually the pre-COVID student and the post-COVID student actually starting out their semester. Before we jump out to our panelists, Sister Sharifah, I would like to ask you, do you prefer pre-COVID learning or post-COVID learning? Because I believe you have a lot to say before our panelists saying something about their tips. Because since we are one of among the first batch having SPM during the pandemic, itself, because we are pro-max, right? What do you think?
I've always believed personally that the engagement between students and teachers in a physical class is much better compared to online class. And I think that most of the audience would agree with me. But on the other hand, our panelists tonight, 2 of them, they had the chance to complete their foundation studies in CFS without online learning. So they might have their own thoughts about this. To our panelists, what do you guys think are the major differences between pre-COVID students and post-COVID students in terms of emotions and academic-wise? Perhaps the environment or study culture? And maybe we can start with Brother Abuza. Please welcome.
All right, thank you, Sister Sharifah and Brother Akmal. All right, so for the question, the difference, I think this program itself shows what is the difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID, because we here right now sitting in front of the laptop, speaking to the laptop and also speaking to all of you. All right. However, I think if you want to talk about the differences, there are a lot of differences. And the differences, I think, the differences that we want to speak tonight is not something that bad. I think the differences also can bring a positive sides. However, if you want to compare, I think it is interesting when Sister Sharifah said that the difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID is the engagement between lecturers and students. Because in CFS, when I am a student of CFS in 2018, I think nearly every week I will meet the lecturers in the CFS, Sir Ridwan, I think, and other lecturers. So the engagement here means that you can gain knowledge better than post-COVID student. But my point here is the post-COVID students doesn't mean that they doesn't have a chances to to have an engagement to the lecturers. They also have a chances to engage with the lecturers, but it needs a little effort more than the pre-COVID student, because I think when we learning through the online, we need to have I think some of adab. We need to contact to the lecturer with adab, and I think this is one of the challenges that the post-COVID student need to adapt. However, if you want to talk about the differences between pre-COVID and post-COVID, I think it is not something that shouldn't be compared, because I think the main point in the learning the knowledge, the main point in gaining the knowledge, is not about how we gain the knowledge. Yes, it is, maybe it's a factor that can add the spirit of us to gain the knowledge. But the main point to gain the knowledge is not it depend on the platform, but it's depending on what is our objective. What is our objective to learn in the university? Because I think the biggest misconception that students face today is they think that the university is just a tool, it's just a platform to have a knowledge, to use the knowledge to get the job. That is one of the biggest misconception that the student nowadays get the picture. So why it is the misconception? Because they think that the university is something platform they need to use to get the job. So when there is a challenges, they feel that okay, this is not work out for me. So I think, in my point, this pre-COVID and post-COVID student comparison, maybe we can do a comparison to know what is the advantages to learn in the post-COVID student. But I think if you want to compare every day, we will not get any benefits. The most important thing in learning the knowledge, the most important thing in gaining the knowledge is we need to know what is our objective to learn the knowledge. And this will get back to our philosophy to gain the knowledge. The university is not just a place for you to enter into the Google Meet, to enter into the class, to answer the question from the lecturer. But it needs more bigger picture than that. You need to have a bigger picture than that. What is the function of knowledge to your identity and your future, inshallah. Okay, so if you ask me, what is the differences between pre-COVID and post-COVID? There are a lot of differences, but I think that I want to highlight tonight is the differences between these two phases is not so important. The important thing is your objective to learn the knowledge. So I think that's my point. All right.
All right. Thank you, Brother Abuza. I think it's very interesting that he said it's not important to compare. So maybe I can ask Brother Adib, since you went through both post-COVID and pre-COVID in foundation, do you really experience the difference in terms of emotions? Like, does it affect you heavily?
All right, thank you very much, Sister Sharifah, and also Brother Abuza. First and foremost, me being my background as a medical student, I do think that talking on my part and comparing with other law students, it's like two different worlds. To me, I do really feel that the difference that they bring both are very different. It's so wildly different from what we can expect. And that doesn't mean that it's something that we should be comparing at a multiple level. And I do really agree with Brother Abuza on that statement also, because at the end of the day, it's not what the difference that actually changes whether it's online or offline, it's how students actually adapt to it. It's important that students, as us as growing teenagers, it's the adaptability that actually bridges us to become better students, become better, inshallah, future lawyers, doctors, or even other professions as well. But I think one of the biggest differences in actually having that is that not everyone faces the same environment as we are. Not everyone has their own laptops, they have their own phones with good internet quality and all. And comparing that with people who actually have a better privileged lifestyle, it's something that has also a very different end of the spectrum. So given, for example, a student who has very limited devices, let's say, they cannot actually perform in class due to that, and not having good internet connection and having to be, for example, balancing their social life in their own homes and now then in classes as well online. It's something that almost everyone actually encounters. But for those people who are in need, for those people who are actually living very different points of view from us, it might be something almost impossible for them to further on. And that's why regardless of whether it's online or offline, yes, it's very true to have determination as well. But then note that not everyone actually has the ability to actually face that at the end of the day. And what we actually find in our day-to-day lives as a student is important for us to find a way to actually to counter that, to cope with these current situations that actually make us better students. Though we might not each another can compare how our lifestyles are, it's very important for us to actually know the limits and also the opportunities that we can take on that. And that's why whether we learn it or not, there's too many differences we can compare in these two worlds. But to compare of every single person who has actually studied right now, whether it's online or offline, it's very different. We can see in our physical class, I can see that some of my friends, they wear nice clothes, they can attend and focus in class. But I have some friends who I don't even see in online class, not because they don't want to, not because they're lazy, but they have very difficult problems to actually, for example, connect into class. And that's something very hard for them to actually encounter. And that's why sometimes when we look at these two different worlds, it's what brings also motivation to us. It's important for us to know that whatever that we have doesn't necessarily other people have. For example, if everyone has the same equal opportunities, yes, we can compare this world in a very big landscape. But right now, we have a lot of other different friends from other different possibilities that they have. So that's why at the end of the day, you can compare everything. You can compare between the rich and the poor, between those who are educated and not. But as a student, mainly us, me, especially since I've just started my degree life, I think it's important for us to actually learn to adapt to it. Sometimes we might not have the capacity to build it from ourselves, but we can actually request it, for example, from our families, from the community and such and so. So that's why at the end of the day, always think back at where your status is in life as a family member, as a student, and also as a general member of society. So at the end of the day, the biggest difference is not about whether it's post or pre, it's about where we stand on these different stances. So I hope in a little bit that actually helps for other people to understand that. Thank you.
Yes, it's true, Brother Adib and Brother Abuzar. I agree with your point, because if we compare the differences, if we see two different things and we keep comparing that, we can't even see we can't see the behind of the story, because as a human, we always judge about online student, online student ni senang belajar online, semua benda di hujung jari, but they doesn't know that it's their struggles to learn without having a poor connection. Example at CFS IIUM having a little bit of problem when it comes to internet connection. So let us pass to Sister Imtiaz. How about your opinion about this topic when referring to emotion and handling your emotion, whether you are pre-COVID or post-COVID student? Please enlighten us.
Thank you for the question. I think my answer will be a continuation from what Brother Adib and Brother Abuza has said just now. I think one of the most prominent challenge that I'm sure we all face during online learning is the implied 24/7 working hours. I personally have been affected by this challenge. I think that this happens not because people want it to be that way, but because in a way we don't have an option. So what is important here is that there needs to be understanding and empathy between all of us. Like what the previous speakers have said just now, not all of us have the luxury of sufficient gadgets. Not all of us have the luxury of good internet connection, the luxury of time. Not everyone has that too. So what is important is for all of us to understand each other. Among students, between us and our group mates, there needs to be understanding that if we send something to our group mates, they may not be able to attend to it right away. And there also needs to be understanding, mutual understanding and empathy between lecturers and students, which I think in IIUM, we are quite fortunate to have lecturers who are very understanding. They treat us like adults. So I think there is that challenge of the implied 24/7 working hours, but with mutual understanding and empathy between all of us, it may not be too hard to live with. I think once people get to understand that we all have different circumstances, we face different challenges in our daily lives, then we can get through that, inshallah. For me, myself, if I can share my personal experience, between me and my friends, we have this implied understanding. We already understand between ourselves that it's okay not to reply soon. We make it okay to reply even a week late to each other. We understand our busy schedules as long as we be honest about our situations, and we don't try to make it hard for the other party. So I think the main factor that can help us to go through this challenge is understanding and empathy. So as long as we have that, inshallah, we can go through online learning, inshallah. So apart from that, I think the other challenges of online learning compared to before COVID, I think are quite normal, and people have gotten accustomed to it, inshallah, I think. I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Imtiaz, for a lot of stories behind that. Because for me, I'm quite surprising, because when we think back that before this, when we were before we having COVID and everything, we having physical class, we actually doesn't even bother when people are replying late when it comes to something. But when it comes to online, we actually really bother when we expect them on the phone at least 24/7. I'm really like, it's really like macam kena sikit lah dengan ni, because I actually sometimes when people replying late, I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But we actually don't intend to think what they having behind the story. So as we approach almost 2-year mark of COVID-19 epidemic, the resulting has changed so much of everything in terms of our academic, our challenges, our emotion, as well as our families, our friends, and some of the people actually have their circle of friends become much more kecil, much more narrow down. Okay, so to conclude everything, we can see that on the first segment itself, pre-COVID student versus post-COVID student, each one better than the other, cannot be compared, because both of it have their own advantages and disadvantages as well. So with this kind of segment, we already get some tips and some stories to begin our program for today. So let us begin with the second segment. Okay, the second segment, make the most out of technology. So the second segment is so much simpler and so much towards the student at CFS IIUM, because most of us are learning online through our online base, and most of us using a laptop, our phone, our Google Classroom, Homo Space, and everything. So before I ask the panelists, Sister Sharifah, do you ever feel like your study method is not efficient enough? I mean, there is always a room for improvement, am I right?
Yes, actually, I always wonder if there is more that I can do to increase the efficiency of my study method. Plus, since we are now in the modern era, of course, there's a lot more to utilize for our academic journey.
Yeah, yes, that's true. That my thought is exactly. So I wonder if some of the students maybe have some curiosity, what kind of websites or gadgets or application that have been used by the speakers when they are facing throughout online basis. So why not we start with Brother Adib? What kind of apps or what kind of website do you use when you're learning online? Please enlighten.
All right, thank you very much, Brother Akmal. So if you ask me, I might not have a certain way of actually saying what kind of applications or websites, because for me, that conventional type of learner. Like for me, I think that writing on a piece of paper and also using my laptop and phone is also quite okay-ish. But generally, what I would say is that one of the most important like tools, or even like let's say uh, day-to-day basis that I use is, for example, like Google Docs, Google Excel, those kinds of things. It might sound very simple, but trust me, I think that there's so many people who don't necessarily know how to use like Google Docs, or even just basic Microsoft Office usages. And it's very important because, for example, if you want to make, for example, like, let's make a group discussion on Google Docs, and you don't even know how to share the link. Oh my God, that is so hard sometimes. Which is that I think it's something so basic, but trust me, there are people who do not know how to do that. And don't be ashamed of it, but it's something that we learn, because as students that we're going into a digitalization environment, it's something that we learn how to use. Maybe before this, you've never even heard of Google Docs, you've only known about Word. So now it's an online platform that you can actually collaboratively work together with your friends. Yeah, it's something that you should know more. So for example, like Google Forms, even you can make a lot of surveys. Those are the kind of things that you can know. So I think that a little bit from me myself, because I only have a laptop and also my phone for devices. I don't even have an iPad, but I think it's sufficient for you to know how to use these devices properly. Like even if you have 1,000 apps, but you don't know how to use them properly, it's going to not really put a good effort to you. So I hope that for those who are new to Google Docs, or for example, just basic Gmail stuff, I think you could actually learn a bit more. For example, learning in your ICT class, I do believe that some of us learns that, and also in watching it from YouTube videos as well. So I think, yeah, that's my take on just some of the webs that I use.
Right. A simple app being used like Google Docs, like Google Excel, because I cannot deny that, because when my first time at CFS, I know how to use Google Docs, but I don't know how to share the link. And I actually having struggles to share the link, and we are struggling to do our first assignment. So it's kind of funny when think back in our first semester. So that's from brother Adi. Why not sister Imtiaz share a little bit of what kind of apps or simple apps that you use throughout your online based learning?
Okay, thank you for the question. Um, Allow me to support what Brother Adib has said just now. Mastering how to use Google Docs is very, very important. Now that we have shifted to online learning, almost all group assignments, at least for me and my friends, almost all group assignments we do it through Google Docs, because it allows us to do the assignment together. Try to learn how to make suggestions to what our friends has written in the Google Docs, how to edit what is already in there, um, and the many other features that are available in Google Docs. They are actually very helpful if we know about their existence and how to use them. Other than that, I have tried to list out a few of the things that I do use. Number one is in iCall. Usually, I'm not sure if you already have this in CFS. If it's good if you already have this, but in iCall we have this Google Drive folder called Swagger Study. There's actually many variations of Swagger Study, which is a folder which contains all slides, all notes from seniors for all law subjects from year 1 until final year. So this has been very, very helpful. I have been using this since my first year until now. My seniors shared this with me. We can make use of them for when our notes are not complete, or when we need to check what lecturers from other classes have taught, just in case they are different from what we learn in our class. And this has been very helpful, so we can use them. But mine may be a bit outdated for you guys. So when you go to iCall later, try to find out if you have the same thing for your batch. I think it will be very helpful. Number two, I put down YouTube. You can learn almost everything on YouTube. There are many law lectures available on YouTube for when you can't fully understand what you have already learned in classes. I do make use of this. There are also lecturers from other Malaysian universities who publish their lectures on YouTube, so we can fully make use of that as well. Number 3 and number 4 are SlideShare, Sudoku, and the IIUM research databases. I'm not sure if you guys have already been given the library ID to use the database dah ada. Okay, so you can make full use of that. Try to make full use of that. They can be very helpful for your law research. Okay, those are what I use for academic. For work, for any form of assignments or group work, try to learn how to use maximally with maximum effect Canva. It will be very helpful until you go to your final year, where there will be a lot of drafting work. Then you will need to craft the court stamp, the commissioner for oath, the signature. There will be a lot of things that need your skills outside from the usual legal skills. So if you can learn how to use Canva properly, then it will be very helpful for you. Especially Canva is free, and if you want to use the pro feature, you can use it for free using IIUM email. So yes, you can do that. Okay, the next one I put is very important, Mendeley. If you have not heard of Mendeley before, it is a citation tool. In a way, it is mainly a citation tool, but it is more than just helping us to cite. If you have Mendeley, you can install it on your desktop, and you can use it for reading your reading materials. You can even make notes on those reading materials, and you can easily after you have collected all of your reading materials, you can easily transfer them into your research paper bibliography or list of references. It's very easy, and it helps you save time. If you can learn how to use Mendeley, I highly recommend you to try to learn how to use it. If you already have IIUM email address, you can access free Mendeley for desktop through that email. Try to find that if you can. It will be very helpful. Other than that, simple websites like SlidesGo, they can help you build interesting slides without having to spend so much time thinking how to make it beautiful. And then you can use Coggle for mind maps if you want. And you can also use Notion if you need a virtual planner. I personally don't prefer it, but my friends who use it, they actually really like it. So I think so far that is all that I can share with you. I hope that has been helpful.
All right, thank you so much, Sister Imtiaz. That is so helpful. And to law students, don't worry, we will share with you the summary of what Sister Imtiaz has given us. And also, Brother Abuza, you are a third-year law student. So of course, when it comes to law, there's a lot of research involved. So, what are the tips for making the most out of technology that you have for law students specifically when it comes to research? Please welcome.
Right. Okay. I think when I'm hearing the tips given by Sister Imtiaz, I think she's like my alter ego, because what has been mentioned by her is what exactly I'm doing for the rest of my learning in IIM. Okay, so if I want to give the tips on how to maximize the technology, I think there are two tips that I can share to all of you. First of all, this might be a little sensitive, but you can just ask the lecturer whether the lecture can be recorded or not. Because if the lecturer given his permission, so I think you guys can record the lecture, because in online learning, I'm not sure about others, but me myself, I cannot focus 100% in the online learning, because we sitting in the front of laptop, but we open another tab that might be maybe you know right. So I think it's important for you to record the lecture if the lecturer give the permission, because in iCall, there are some lecturers that doesn't allow, especially when you taking a Sharia. There are some Sharia lecturer doesn't allow to record the lecture. So if the lecturer doesn't give the permission, so janganlah buat kan. However, this is the most important, because I think for the rest of my life in this online learning, in the final examination, I maximize the recorded lecture very, very. I think I watch the video lecture like I watch the movie. So I think if you guys can maximize this, I think it's better for you guys to do this. All right. The second one is being an IUM student. I think it's just so lucky to have an IUM as our university, because UIA IUM is give to us many platform of technologies. Because I think if we do not being a student, to have an account of Microsoft Word, to have an account of Microsoft, another Microsoft, is very, very expensive. IIM has given to you many platforms. I'm not sure what is the step to gain this, but I think if you guys have iMaklum, you guys go to iMaklum and explore the iMaklum, because at the iMaklum there are a lot of widgets, and there are a lot of platform that you guys can use. For example, OneNotes. OneNotes, I think because Sister Sharifah said that she didn't know how to write a notes in the lecture and otherwise. So I think to take a note on the lecture, I think it is better if you guys use the Google Docs or OneNotes to type the what is the date of the lecture, and type the point of the lecture, because at the end of the semester you will be revise this note again, because in the physical studies, in physical learning, maybe you guys writing the notes on the paper, but as a student that yang tak ada tulisan lawa macam saya, I cannot read my notes again. So I think the Google Docs or OneNote is very helpful for you guys to jotting down the notes. So I think that's all my tips.
All right, thank you so much. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Imtiaz, Brother Abuza, and Brother Adib for the very, very helpful tips. And so this marks the end of our second segment. But hang on tight, because there is so much more to uncover in the upcoming segments. But before we proceed, I'm sure all of us are pretty tired now. So we are going to take a 5-minute break. So let ourselves recharge and we can focus.
سريت من حرم ليلا إلى حرم كما سرى البدر في تاج من الظلم سريت من حرم ليلا إلى حرم كما سرى البدر في تاج من الظلم وبت ترقى إلى أن نلت منزلة ترقى إلى أن نلت منزلة من قاب قوسين لم تدرك ولم ترم مولاي صل
All right, enough break for us. We already 5 minutes break, and we already fresh up a little bit because when we sitting online, we need a little bit of like 30 minutes of program, and then we need to take five, so then we can actually focus more on the next segment that will be continue until 10:30 for tonight. So let's cool down the talk for today with the third segment. It's not gonna be a lot more about tips. It's gonna be a little more chill towards the students, towards us. So this third segment will be called Never Have I Ever. Let us begin with the third segment.
Okay, so I think everyone is familiar with the game called Never Have I Ever. So in case there is still those who don't know, so this is a game where the rule is pretty simple. Akmal and I are going to ask the panelists a few questions that starts with the phrase "Never have I ever," and a paper shaped triangle is an indicator of I have, and the square is for I have never. Okay, so the audience actually could join us hand in hand by writing a simple I have or never in the Zoom or YouTube chat box. Okay, so I will pass to Brother Akmal for the first question.
All right, thank you, Sister Tarifa. I already have question at me right now. So the first question will be, never have I ever started rethinking or regret my courses that I'm taking right now.
Every day.
Oh my God. Sister Sharifah, how about you? You actually regret or not taking the course that you're taking right now?
No, I'm really in love with the course that I'm in right now. I'm super
Okay,
good.
maybe when it comes to Sister Sharifah, we are totally different. How about Brother Adi? Why you actually sometimes regret taking medi? So,
All right, for me, I wouldn't say regret is the best word, but it's something that it's super complicated to explain. I love generally what I'm doing, but the amount of workload, the amount of pressure it is to be like in medicine right now. It's superly confusing for me, but still I'll say I love it. It's just that imagine having classes every single day from 9 to almost 4. Like you don't have like, oh, I don't have classes on Tuesday or Wednesday. I have classes every single day. And like we have like 1 hour classes, and there's like 4 classes in a day, and 4 classes is only 1 hour. And for that 1 hour session, the doctor can wrap up to 70 slides. So to total it up in like a whole day, I'll say 50 times for like 200 slides in a day to interpret, and in a week, already almost 1,000. So you have to memorize all that, because like basically a doctor, you have to like understand every single part of it. And honestly, there's a lot to actually interpret here. But to me, although I say it's hard, it's something that I will still love for. But if given another opportunity to choose another course, I will not change. It's just that a bit of complications there.
Yeah, I can actually relate that, because sometimes when taking law, I also think to myself, why do I take law? Because I'm from Sekolah Teknik, from engineering base, so from SPM, and then I'm changed already to law. It's kind of different. How about Sister Imtiaz? Why are you actually rethinking about taking law? You are already 4th year student already. Why?
Okay, to answer that, I actually started rethinking law in my final year. During my first year until my 3rd year, I really enjoyed classes. I loved learning what I learned, and just the thought of being able to help so many people with practicing law is very attractive to me. So I think that is what has made me quite passionate about learning law. But in my final year, it has been 2 semesters now. I started feeling like I don't really have what it takes to be someone who practices in the legal fraternity. You may not be able to fully understand how I feel right now, but in the final year, where you start doing many practical works, final year is also called professional year. This is when we feel that we don't have the skills that it takes to be someone successful in the legal field. So I think, at least for me, it's quite inevitable for me to feel that I really want to give this up. But Alhamdulillah, I think I have persevered through these thoughts. But it doesn't deny that I have started rethinking law in my final year.
I see. All right. Thank you so much, Sister Imtiaz, for the sharing. So we move on to the next question. Never, I think this relates to Sister Imtiaz's answer. Never have I ever felt like I am incompetent when studying the course that I am in right now. So I think I would like to ask Brother Abu Zar a special question, because during secondary school, people always told me that you shouldn't pursue law, because to be able to succeed in this field, you have to have no social life, because it's hard. So do you agree with that statement? Is it not possible for us to have social life while succeeding in this field?
I think that is not accurate, because as a lawyer or as a judge, you also can have your enjoyment in your life. But again, this is your choice. I think that is not accurate, because being a lawyer or being a judge, I'm not sure, because I'm not being a lawyer yet. Being a lawyer or being a judge doesn't mean that you are not human. You're still a human. So I think that is not accurate, because your life is what have you been thinking and what has been you decide. So choose your life carefully, inshallah.
Right. Thank you to Brother Abu Zar for the story. Okay. Because we are on the same answer, so they both of 3 of them already have the same answer, so we can actually assume something like that. So let's us move on to the 3rd question. Never have I ever doubted my classmate on a group assignment. Yeah, sometimes I cannot deny. I actually have, because sometimes they actually reply some late lah. They really update to me. So I'm sorry to audience who are currently my classmates, my group mates right now. I'm not doubting at you. It's just my previous past before this. So let us ask Brother Adib for maybe a little of story behind your doubt with your group mates.
All right. So mainly for me, I think that there's a lot of assignments, whether it's in medical base, whether it's not in medical, and even like I believe this applies to everyone, which is like unicore subjects, which is like university required subjects. It's something that resonates, I think, almost with everyone, because doing a lot of work, like being under pressure, plus there's like some other kinds of assignments you have to attend to. You do have some teammates who might not be on board sometimes. Like they might not even reply, they might even join meetings, they might even not do the work. So to me, it's something worrying. But on the other hand, we can't simply assume that, oh, they're not doing their work just for fun. They might be doing other stuff. So occasionally, if you do check up on them, I think it's something that helps to actually find out the reason why. So it's not wrong for you to doubt other people. It's not wrong for you to actually question it. It's not necessarily wrong for you to actually have that feeling, because that's basically what humans are. Like sometimes we do judge people. It's not wrong. But to actually put them in a place that, for example, you're not doing work at all, to me, I think that's definitely wrong. So what I think is the best option, for example, you find some teammates who are not on board with you, not part of the team, is to actually sometimes check up on them, to actually see on how they're doing, whether they need any help or not. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Brother Adib. I think I agree with Brother Adib's point. Communication is really the key to solve this kind of problem. So proceed to the next question. Never have I ever lost a friendship or two in CFS IIUM. Brother Adib is contemplating. What is that? So I have. So maybe Sister Imtiaz, you have never? So would you mind sharing us some tips how to make sure we do not lose friendship here in CFS?
I think during CFS, Alhamdulillah, I did not lose any friendship. In fact, I gained new friends in CFS, some of whom I am still very close to until now. My closest friends in my degree years are friends who I got to know during CFS. So Alhamdulillah for that. I think the key to not losing friends is I think the key to not losing friends is first to show that you care about them. If I may share my story, one of the friends that I'm very close to right now was a classmate in CFS. We have never been working together. We have never been assigned to work in pair. But for one final assessment, she gave me a small note saying that she really wanted to be my partner for that assessment. She said she has been trying to be my partner for quite some time, and this is her final chance. So that made me very touched. As I mentioned earlier, I am an introvert. I'm not very good at initiating things like this. So when she informed me of how she felt, so that facilitated our friendship until this very day. Till this day, we still communicate very truthfully. We say what we feel. We show each other that we care about each other, and we always try to communicate honestly. We give each other advice, no matter how bitter the advice may be. We try to do that. I think as long as we can keep that honesty, truthfulness, and sincerity between our friends and us, inshallah, that friendship can last. Hopefully, inshallah. I think that's all.
Thank you so much, Sister Intia. So I will pass to Brother Akmal for next question.
All right. Thank you, Sister Sharifah, and thank you, Sister Imtiaz, for the story. It's quite like it's quite like a little bit like cliche story, but it's kind of quite fun that people actually sending a sticky note to become a partner assignment. I hope that I don't receive that because there will be a lot of like mountains right here already. So not too brag, but sometimes yes. Okay, the final the fifth question will be, never have I ever had a crush on my classmates. I certainly don't. Okay, I certainly don't. I never. Okay, so we can assume that most of people that here never have a crush on their classmates, because sometimes people say that having a crush with their classmates is a big red flag. So I pass back to Sister Sharifa.
Okay, so the last question is a bit emotional, I think. So never have I ever cried because of academic validation. Wow, this is very interesting. Brother Akmal and Brother Abuzar are the only ones saying never. Okay. So Brother Abuzar, how do you manage to not cry? Please explain.
I think in terms of academic validation, if you got the bad result, I think it's normal for you to sad, for you to have a feeling of unsatisfied to yourself. But it is not something that it need to be cried, because I'm not sure about others, but me myself, my aim, my objective to learn in the university is to gain the knowledge. So even if I don't score as much as I expected, the result is not as much as I expected, I'm not really sad, because the important thing is I gain the knowledge. But if I may share the tips to all of you, if you want to cry, just cry, because it's not a sign of a weak. Because every person have different stamina, or have different affections. So I think it is normal for you to cry, and just I think the most important thing in terms of keeping your mental healthy is you just need to express yourself in a way that anyway, in terms of crying or shouting. So just love yourself, inshallah.
All right. Thank you so much, Brother Abuzar. I believe we have different ways of coping. Some people cry, some people don't. So I would like to ask Brother Adib. So you did answer yes, right? You cried because of academic validation. So what keeps you going? What is your biggest motivation that keeps you going when it gets hard?
Right. So I don't actually recall when was the last time I cried because of academic validation. I think it was way years back, even before CFS. But even now, when you don't get good grades, you sometimes feel sad about it. And I think one of the times that I was very sad was when I got a 3.4 something GPA for my first sem in CFS, which was that back then I was in health science. I wasn't in medicine yet. And one of the criteria to actually be in medicine is to have a 3.5 point and above. And at that 1 second, when I actually looked at my results on iMatlum, I was quite, one, unsatisfied. And secondly, I feel a bit down because I see the possibilities of actually being able to move to medicine is now quite questionable. But at the end of the day, whatever we score is not something that we might expect or not expect, just like Brother Musa says, I think it's important for us to actually learn to improvise ourselves. From there, we learn that, oh, I'm not good in, let's say, biology. So next time I'll have to improve more on these studies. I'll have to study more on this. I have to actually plan myself in a more according manner. So at the end of the day, even though that I don't actually get the results I wish for in semester 1, at least I can make improvements for future semesters to come. So Alhamdulillah, based on that, I'm now in medicine. I'm very thankful. Even though I didn't get a dean's list during my first time in CFS, that kind of propagated in a way for me to actually study more and actually improvise myself to become where I am right now, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, we can see that even though not gaining dean's list on the first semester, it's not a problem for you to move forward to second semester and gain much more better achievement than previous one. So enough of the, we can see that even with the game Never Have I Ever, we can see that Wait. I have a background people behind me who are actually laughing. Okay, even with the game of never have ever, behind of the question, we always have a little bit of story when it comes to panelists answering that, and also dalam apa-apa pun mesti ada cerita di sebaliknya. So let us continue with the fourth segment.
All right. So Akmal, what do you think this segment is about? What kind of misconceptions are we going to talk about?
Right. When it comes to Lexbuzz new semester hack, I think the misconception that we're going to talk about, that the panel is going to talk about, is usually about the misconception that they actually face, that we actually face as a student at CFS IIUM, and as a law student, not only as a law student, as a medic student itself, because throughout online learning, there is a lot of misconception that, and also in our first segment, there's one misconception that have been said by Brother Abuza, which is sometimes students think that university is a tool, a knowledge where we can get a job, that we can actually see that people are learning at university so then they can get a job. That's one of the misconceptions that have been said by Brother Abuza. So I think the misconception that we're going to be answering, that we're going to be questioning to the panelists for today is quite intriguing indeed. Don't you think, Sister Sharifah?
Yes, and speaking about what we talked earlier, I think what Sister Imtiaz said earlier is about people assume that we are 24/7 available when it's post-COVID, right? So those kind of misconceptions are what we are going to talk about. So I think I would first ask Brother Abuza, like how do you deal with those kind of misconceptions? Maybe like people think that when it comes to online, people have it easier. It's easier to access you. So how do you deal with that?
As for me, I think to survive in this online learning, the first rule that you need to understand is you need to love yourself. So I think if another person interrupt your time, another person interrupt your emotion by maybe PM message you at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or maybe message you at the wrong time, just ignore that. Me myself right now, I have a 100 and more than 100 messages that I have not read yet. So that's normal. You need to love yourself. However, you need to balance with the attitude, because maybe if you want to reply, or maybe someone message you at the wrong time, maybe you can reply at another time with another advice. So you need to balance with the adab lah. So I think to survive in this pandemic, in terms of that interruption of emotion and like that, you need to love yourself, but you need to balance with the adab. And I think when talking about the emotion, the misconception about the emotion nowadays is that people think that you just learning in the online, apa yang susahnya belajar online kan, duduk depan laptop. But you need to understand that people talk to you like that because they didn't sit in your seat right now. So just ignore the statement from them and just love yourself. That's my principle, that's my rule in my life as a student in IIUM.
Right, thank you, Brother Abuza. We can see that have been one or two misconceptions have been told by Brother Abuza. So I would like to ask Sister Imtiaz, what kind of misconception or wrong perspective that people have towards you? Because you're actually having to learn in online base throughout around your third year, if I'm not mistaken, around your third year. So what is that a shock to you when people have a misconception when you actually having to through this online base?
For me, the misconceptions that I get, number one, yang implied 24/7 working hours tu, that I'm always available online. That is very common, and in fact, it still happens to this day. The other misconception is, I think it's quite understandable. It's quite fair for people outside our IIM circle, like our family and relatives. They don't necessarily fully understand the situation that we are in, especially if they are elders and they do not experience what we experience themselves. So those are the main two misconceptions that I get. I think the key to handling this well is to be able to communicate well what we actually face to them. With people who text me anytime they want, I reply whenever I can, the soonest I can, not according to their request, not necessarily according to their request, but I make it clear to them that this is the only time I am able to send them those replies. And with families and relatives, I usually try to communicate clearly to them. For example, I have class at these hours. Or whenever I'm done with classes, I go out of my room and tell them I feel so tired today. I feel tense. The lecture was so hard. Or I didn't do well in my case management session, for example. When I communicate to them how I feel or what my schedule is like, more often than not, they are understanding and they are willing to cope with my schedule. So for me personally, it is a matter of them knowing or not knowing what I'm going through. If they do know, then they are willing to be understanding and respectful of how I'm doing for the day. So for me, the key to handling these misconceptions are to be able to communicate well. Try to be frank, but at the same time polite and respectful, because no matter how people may or may not annoy us with their untimely messages, they deserve respectful replies. So like Brother Abuzar has mentioned quite a few times previously, we have to observe adab juga, while maintaining our rights to respect our own time and preferences. So I think that's all for me.
All right, thank you so much, Sister Imtiaz. And what I can conclude is it's very crucial for you to prioritize yourself and also to have a good communication with your friends if you want to survive in your academic years. So I would like to highlight another famous misconception that involves students. So you know how many students avoid taking up positions during their foundation and degree years because they think that it will affect their studies negatively. And for those who don't know, Brother Adik Syahmi was the Secretary of Students Coordination Committee during his foundation year, and also the President of Mahalah Representative Committee. So I would like to ask Brother Adik, you know, having to juggle many things at once as a student is not easy, it's super hard. So how do you manage your time and emotions especially? Because it's very mentally draining, I believe.
All right. So actually, I was the president of the Environment and Nature Club, but I was the finance and controller for the Mala of MRC Zarawi. So one of the things is that, yeah, I believe it's a very big misconception, especially like, oh, you have to balance your studies or you're taking like a lot of different subjects at a time. But I do say that regardless of how much you have to study, you do still have some ample time for yourself. You have some leisure time, for example, to go and do sports, to go and socialize, to go and have some fun. And for me, I think that actually putting time for doing my work, putting for some responsibilities is something that I can put up to hand. And currently, even now in Kuantan, even though I'm in my first SEM block 2 of my year 1, I'm taking for almost up to 5 positions right now. It's not out of just positions for fun, but it's something that I enjoy doing with. It's work that actually can help to actually make a change for other people, not only for myself, but also for the communities around me. So for example, right now I'm being part of the iMasjid, the MRC, the English Debate Club. Those are some of the examples which I think is a platform for you to actually enhance yourself. Even right now, you do have like obligations to attend to, because you know that you're not only a person yourself, like you are a student, you are a son, you are a brother, you are a friend, you are everything that people can imagine you of. And sometimes you might wonder that people see you for what you are instead of who you are, which means that people see you as, oh, you're a secretary, you're a president. But sometimes they don't actually acknowledge, oh, he might be doing other things as well. And that's something that not everyone gets the feeling the same of. And it's something that, oh, it's so much different because he has responsibilities. So he's living on another platform, another world that is very different from me. To me, it's very different. It's not something that you can associate with unless you're in those spots. And though it might sound right now, it sounds so terrifying to actually have a position. Trust me, it's something very enjoyable. You get to meet new friends. Right now, even in UIA, I'm in the IUM Student Union Parliament Commission, and I'm the youngest member in there. And the other people there in year 1, year 2, 3, and 4, they're very new, and they're very exuberant in doing that work. And I learn a lot from them. At the end of the day, you do work in a situation where you might feel pressured, you might feel stressed, but note that the work that you're doing is not only to improve yourself, because you can actually learn to talk, you can learn more working experience for other people, but you're also doing it for other people. Like I like being part of the MRC. I think it's been 2 years since I've been the MRC. One was when I was in CFS. Is that you can actually help the Mala residents, you can actually help to make improvements in the people around you. And that's something that I enjoy a lot with. So even though you might think you don't have the time, it's an obligation that you have to fulfill. It's not actually something very terrifying at the end of the day. It's something new that you can explore. It's something that I think almost everyone should actually try. You don't actually have to be, let's say, a main board, the president or something, and even just be a bureau. And to actually say that it's stressful, I can't lie to say if it's not, but it's something that I enjoy with. So I know that, for example, Brother Akmal here, he's also the president. Sister Sharifah also has 2 positions, I believe, also the SEC. So also my successor to the secretary of the SEC. I think some people put standards of how you do work. Some people actually think that, oh, you can do everything in this whole world just because you have positions. And the answer is no. You're very much the same as your other colleagues. It's just that you have additional obligations that you're doing it not for yourself, you're doing it for other people. So don't think of it as a burden. Don't think of it as, oh, I'm just going to join this for star points. I'm just going to join this just for fun. It's something that you can enjoy with. And over time and over the years, I've actually learned to enjoy doing, I would say, work. And it might sound very unrealistic to say that you enjoy doing work, but it's something that I associate with my life on and on every single day. And for those who are out there who are really intrigued or interested to join like societies or committees, do feel free to join. So even though you're, for example, introvert, even though you're very scared to actually meet new people, it's a great opportunity for you to actually explore. And plus, me being a doctor, having to have good communication, I'll also have to apply that in my later years. For example, talking to my patients. And also being lawyers, you actually have to talk with other people too. And you learn this communication, you learn these protocols. It's something that you apply right now. It's those working experiences that actually build you to become a stronger and better character for yourself. So yes, it might take some time. It might be a little bit stressful, but at the end of the day, it's truly worth it. It's something that I think I really encourage everyone to actually be part of it, inshallah. So later, even if you're not a committee now, in your degree, you can actually start small, become a subcommittee, become a bureau member, and you might even actually explore a new part of yourself that actually enjoys doing work as well. So yeah, that's my take on it.
All right, thank you, Brother Adib. I actually can relate with that because as a president of MeLex, Law Student Society at CFS IIUM, having a lot of jobs with me and Sharifah as my vice president, we actually sometimes very stressed when it comes to jobs, when it comes to handling some of our program. But this kind of program, actually, we initiate our own initiative. We want to organize it. On semester 3 also, Sharifah have one big program that she actually wants to organize it because we actually enjoy the handling the program, because we know throughout the process it's very stressful, but the product is, the hasilnya memang sangat-sangat it was very fun. I actually can relate with Brother Adib and to all the speakers also. And thank you to our dearest panelists for a beautiful sharing. It's truly one of the misconceptions that people actually doesn't really understand. Maybe some of the students actually don't at least understand that president can't actually cannot available at 24/7. I'm not a counter pertanyaan bergerak because I don't know about BKA. You want to ask about BKA, you ask about to SEC Treasurer, SEC Afifai. If you want to ask other stuff, ask other people. Don't ask me. But sometimes that kind of misconception that actually make us think of a solution that to make us better in life. So with that, we close our fourth segment, and we will continue it to the fifth segment, which is really get better. I hope throughout this segment, we all can gain some motivation because we already cracked a little bit of misconception. So we need a little bit of motivation to stay hopeful throughout ups and downs throughout our academic years. Without further ado, let's proceed, shall we?
Respected panelists and beloved audience, in Surah Al-Inshirah, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has promised us not once but twice, with hardships comes ease. And in this context, the hardship that we're going through right now is perhaps, sitting in front of your laptop for classes instead of being able to enjoy your youth, make the most out of every moment, but you're alone in your room with just a laptop. So although the concept of tawakkal and hopefulness throughout this hardship is very easy to understand, but to actually practice and implement hopefulness and tawakkal are definitely not as easy. So Brother Akmal, what do you think?
I think actually, yes, it's not easy indeed, because sometimes when we want to implement the tawakkal in our real life, when it comes to having a bad grade, because I believe that we as a second semester student at CFS IIUM, during our first semester, when we get our result during, if I'm not mistaken, 10th of December, around 5 p.m., we're actually waiting for the results to appear, and we're waiting for around 3 hours, and then the results appear. Some of it get good, some of it get bad. I do personally believe that I did my best on that exam, on that semester itself. So to our generous panelists, we have a little bit of question for you, which is it is not easy. It is easy to be demotivated and to only see the negative sides of everything that we face. So please share with us, dear panelists, how do you implement tawakkal and helpfulness as a student when you are tested with hardship, maybe when you get a bad grade, or when you are tired having to juggle everything at once? Let us begin with Brother Abu Zah. Please enlighten us.
So to answer this question, I have two tips to be shared. The first one is, the first rule in implementing the concept of tawakkal and usaha is that you need to believe, you need to have a strong belief that Allah is the best decider to your life. Whatever that happens into your life, that is the best for you, that has been decided by Allah. So this is the first rule that you need to believe, that you need to hold firmly, in order for you to make sure that you don't regret in the future for a very long time. So in me myself, I preparing this. And when I'm waiting to have a lot of efforts to achieve your dreams, because I think the misconception that people have nowadays is that people think that they just need to have a tawakkal, but they put a little efforts, and that is why the second rule that I want to mention to all of you is that you need to put a lot of efforts. You need to put your best quality to what you want to do. So I think if you implement these two rules, inshallah, you can apply the concept of tawakkal and ridha peacefully, inshallah. And I think in ensuring that this concept of tawakkal can be implemented, can be can be applied practically, I think if we have a sum of problem, if we have get the thing that we did not want, I think it's important for us to revise what is the status of our relationship with Allah. Do we fulfill that Allah has asked us to do as a Muslim, as a servant? So I think in answering this question, the first one is you need to have a strong belief to Allah, and the second one is that you need to put a lot of effort, and the third one is if there is a lot of wrong in your life, you need to revise what is your status of relationship with Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. I think this is what I can share to all of you.
Thank you, Brother Amuza, because we are CFS IIUM. We are actually in International University Malaysia, Islamic University Malaysia. We always apply the concept of Rahmatin lil Alamin, the concept of Islamic in our studies. So with the tips of the rule number 1, number 2, and number 3, we can actually implement our the rules of Tawakkal and hopefulness as a student throughout our academic journey. How about Brother Adib? What's your tips and how do you implement them?
All right, so I do believe that when facing, let's say, decision or an end result, you will have to have tawakkal. Like I believe in chapter 3, verse 159, it says that when you are firm in making decision, then have tawakkal on Allah. For surely Allah loves the people of tawakkal. But it doesn't necessarily mean for you to actually give up. It doesn't mean you have to actually just let it be, let it everything just go and let Allah just do the rest. It's something that goes on with how much you've worked for it. It's something that goes on with how much you've sacrificed for it. And though you might face some decisions that is very hard for you to actually face, or results that you might be disappointed with, tawakkal might be the one that you have to find, but at the same time, it's a moment for you to actually aspire to be better. Someone in this whole world, someone elsewhere, let's say in another university or another course, they might even face the same thing. But tawakkal is something that's very hard for some of us to actually accept. Accepting the fact, for example, you failed the whole semester, let's say you have to actually accept the worst decisions. It's not something easy for some people to actually accept. But tawakkal, in a way, is how you actually understand the plans of Allah. Though you might not know what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen in 20 years to come, in 10 years to come, you're sure that whatever you do is sufficient enough and you've prayed, you've done your best. Inshallah, that will be the way for you to actually accept it. And it's not giving up, basically tawakkal is. It's something that actually puts in your heart that you believe that you've done your best, and inshallah for future events, you'll do better. So don't take tawakkal as a way for you to give up, but as a way for you to actually improve yourself, inshallah.
All right, thank you so much, Brother Adib. That's a very, very beautiful explanation, which I would like to highlight. Tawakkal does not mean that we give up. It means that we believe that we have tried our best. So to Sister Imtiaz, perhaps you could share with all of us, what do you do to practice tawakkal?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I personally think that this question is very close to me because it is during my final year that I started to feel hopeless after almost every assessment sessions because of professional year that as I mentioned previously, I feel that I do not have the necessary skills. But what I did were I tried to list them out according to what I did. Okay, here's what I did. Number 1 is to set proper niyat before doing whatever we do. I think a lot of us know that we need to have a good niyat before beginning what we do, but sometimes we do not know nak niat apa. We do not know what exactly we should say as our niat. My apologies if my answer gets too long, but you can cut me short if it's too long. One of my readings it is this book. Okay, this is The Daily Revival by Ali Hamuda. It is actually about forsaken sunnahs of the Prophet, sunnahs that we don't usually hear about. And one of them is about making good niyat. And if I may share with you, in one of the sayings of ulama, I think Ibnu Abi Jamrah, it is in Arabic, but it means, sorry, I will just cut it short and go to the scenario. Okay, in this book, a teacher was sitting with their shaykh in Yemen, and then someone knocked the door. So the teacher said he got up to open the door, but the shaykh asked, "What are you doing?" And the teacher said, "I'm trying to open the door." That's what he answered. And then the shaykh said, "Oh, if that's it, let me open the door instead." It's sweet, right? And then after the shaykh opened the door, and he came back to the study circle, the shaykh said to the teacher, "Your intention was just to open the door." Okay, I will simplify the rest because it gets long. But as for the shaykh, his intention was not just to open the door. His intention was to welcome a brother into a study circle. His intention was to apply the sunnah of Islamic greeting, to make space for someone during a ilm session, and to honor the guest. So these are the many sunnahs that he tried to implement while just opening the door for someone who recently come in. So I think this is a great lesson for us to see things from a bigger perspective. When we decide to learn law or medicine, for that matter, we need to see that what we do is not just study law or medicine. No, it's more than that. What we do from day to day, studying is not for a short time. Mine has taken about 6 years already, from plus or minus 6 years. So throughout all those years, the small little things that we do until we graduate, all of them, each single one of them, can carry different meaning. So we need to try to compartmentalize our daily actions and bring special niyyah in what we do, so that we can, when we do this, we don't really get easily discouraged when things don't go our way, because we can see that, oh, this is not the only objective of what I'm doing. I'm studying this not only because of the LLB degree itself. I'm doing this for more than just that. So I hope that what I shared with you reaches all of you, hopefully. And then number 2, after having proper niat, is to try our level best. I say level best because what is best according to me may not be what is best according to you. Everyone has their different capabilities. Like someone said earlier, different stamina. What they can withstand and what they cannot differs according to our personal traits. So do as we can, our level best only. At that point, we need to have ihsan on ourselves. Love yourself is the more famous way of saying it. Try not to be too hard on ourselves. And how to do that is, number 3, how I do this is I always think of myself as a sprouting seed. That means I am someone who is trying to grow. I have not fully grown yet. I have so much more to learn about myself and about the field that I am studying in. So when we think of ourselves this way, we are allowing ourselves to make room for mistakes. This is very important because as we ourselves expect failures, expect mistakes, then when the failures and mistakes actually come upon us, we don't get too disheartened and we don't get too discouraged, because we can already foresee, oh, because I'm a beginner at this, I'm not an expert yet. So it's okay to fail and it's okay to make mistakes at my first try. So I think for me at least, this has been very, very important. One of my friends had advised me like this when after an unsuccessful assessment session, she said this to me. She said, we can't be good at everything. There are some subjects that we can be good at, some other subjects that we may find a little bit too hard to master or to be excellent at. So we need to accept that we cannot be good at everything. Even our lecturers who are experts in their field are experts in their field, but may not be experts in other fields unrelated to their specialization. So once we try to accept this ourselves, inshallah, facing mistakes and failures will be a lot easier than when we not expect failures. And then number 4 is to pray. Pray for strength to face our mistakes and failure, and pray for sabar. And pray for success in what way that Allah is willing to give us and in a way that He blesses us with. I think that is very important because we may not know what is really good for us in the eyes of Allah. We can only think of what is good for ourselves, but only Allah knows what is truly good for us. And then the final step is to have a healthy and safe coping mechanism. When we face failures, it's important not to withstand it, not to. You cannot hold in your tears, for example. If you feel like you have to cry after making a certain mistake or after failing something, you have to let yourself cry. So if crying is the best coping mechanism for you right after the traumatic event, for example, you have to let yourself cry. If it helps, then inshallah you will get better after allowing yourself the time to grieve. For me personally, my coping mechanism has been crying and spending time with my cats and reading books. So when I do this after failing at a certain thing, I feel a lot better. So I can conclude that this is my safe coping mechanism. So what worked for me may not work for everyone else. So try to find something that you can use as your coping mechanism for whenever you fail at something that makes you disheartened. Inshallah, it will be helpful. So I think that is all that I used to implement tawakkal and hopefulness as a student. I hope that has been helpful. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much, Sister Imtiaz. That was very, very beautiful and impactful, I believe. When you do something for the sake of Allah's pleasure, inshallah, you will not get disappointed or discouraged. Thank you so much to all the panelists. Very beautiful answers. So we still have time before our program ends. So we did open for a Q&A session on YouTube. So there are some questions and we have transferred them here. So the first question is a very random one. This is for Brother Adib from Brother Fayed. Is that an OB badge you're wearing? From Brother Fayed. Brother Adib?
Yes, Brother Fayed. I believe Brother Fayed is from MCK, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
I am from SAS, and back then during 2019, we did have an outreach program. Not outreach, it was a team building program between 12 of the global, I forgot the name of it, as the schools of global excellences. So they sent around 10 people per school, and I was one of the high committees from Sekolah Talamsha. And yeah, at the end of the program, we did get this outbound badge right here, this one. So we've been wearing this actually since Ta'aruf Week. We did a lot of programs at that time. There were like kayaking from somewhere around Perak to Pulau Tioman, map and compass for around 5 hours, I guess. We went through like some hills and whatnot. But yeah, it was quite an interesting event.
All right. Thank you, Brother Adib. Hope that answers your question, Brother Fayad. So, Brother Akmal, would you mind reading any question you might find interesting?
Oh my God, the question is very, very a lot, because so we can see that our program has actually opened some minds to some of the panelists. Okay, the second question will be, how do you cope some of the some lectures that is hard to contact with, generally speaking, like maybe if we have gadget problems or like internet problem gadgets, how do you cope with the lectures that is hard to contact? I pass this question to Brother Abuza.
Alright, okay, first of all, I think in a week you will have your time with the lecturer in the lecture time. Maybe the first step that you can take is that you ask the lecturer in the lecture, so what kind of communication, not like this question, but maybe, so what kind of communication, what kind of a way that we can communicate to you. So maybe some lecturers prefer the students contact them through the email. Some lecturers prefer from the WhatsApp. So maybe the first step is that we contact them through the way that they like. Nevertheless, if the lecturer is kind of unresponsive to this question and yeah, you know that, so they didn't respond, I think maybe you can, this is not, I think it's not harsh, but you can report to the representative or report to the kuliah. Because this is what in IIM Gombak we've been doing that. If there are lecturers, there are some lecturers that didn't give that didn't give kerjasama dan sebagainya, we make a report to the student representative, or we make a report to the kuliah itself. So then the kuliah will deal with the lecturer. But I think there are not many lecturers like that. I think most of lecturers, if you ask them politely what kind of communication, they will answer also with they will answer, and inshallah they will communicate it to you inshallah by the clear way. So I think that is two tips that I can give to.
All right, thank you, Brother Abuza. Next, I pass to Sister Sharifah.
Okay, so this question is from Brother Soleh. Assalamualaikum. This question is for Sister Imtiaz. As an introvert, do you have any tips on how to convince others with our opinion?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. To answer this, first I think I have to put a caveat. I may not be the best person to answer questions like this. In the sense that I personally have not participated in competitions like mooting or debating at university level, but I do have experience in debating at school. So this is just from my personal experience. Number one is, do not underestimate yourself. I think there is a lot of common misconceptions against introverts, that they themselves or people around them think that introverts cannot talk well, or they cannot express their opinions well. This is very common, but I would like to encourage all of us to change this misconception and understand that introversion is when introversion does not really mean that someone lacks the confidence or the ability to speak well. It just means that they have, in a sense, a smaller tank for social activities compared to extroverts. So that is what introverts are. So to be able to convince others with our opinion, number one, we must first not underestimate our abilities. When we do this, when we do underestimate ourselves, we are closing ourselves to many doors of opportunities to say what we feel and convey them convincingly to others. First, do not underestimate yourself. So number two is what I have learned throughout the years, and I recently found written in a book called Quiet by Susan Cain. The tip is to be prepared. For introverts, it's very important for them to be prepared with what they want to say, because usually introverts, they are not very good at interrupting during discussions, or when so many people are talking, they will usually just wait. I'm not sure if the brother or sister who asked this question can relate to that, but I personally have that problem. So by preparing ourselves beforehand, we can plan what we want to say and at what time we want to say that convincingly. By preparing, we can be more confident in what we are trying to say, and that really helps us to convey what we feel or how we opine about certain things. And yeah, so I think that is the second tip, to be prepared. For classes, for example, by being prepared, you can plan ahead. If for example, the lecturer intends to teach you on a certain topic tomorrow, for example, by preparing beforehand, you can already you can already expect the questions that may be asked by the lecturers the next day. When I tried preparing for classes like this, I was able to answer questions from lecturers with confidence and the right answers. So it really helps introverts who usually find it hard to speak out in situations like this. If you want more details regarding how to prepare before talking as an introvert, then I highly recommend you to read the book Quiet by Susan Cain. I hope that has been helpful. And the third tip is something that I have learned over the years and I have been personally taught by my lecturers. Maybe Brother Adib has more helpful tips than this because he is a debater, I heard just now. One of the tips to convince others with our opinion is how we say things that we say. For example, making timely pauses and making emphasis on a certain words that we want to focus on. That can help others to understand our message and convince them with what we are opining, what we view on a certain matter. So I think those are the 3 tips that I have been relying on. And so far, Alhamdulillah, they have been very helpful. And tip number 4 is to understand and, if possible, be passionate about what you are trying to say. More often than not, when we are talking about things that we personally relate to or things that we care about, things that we are passionate about, we can say them well, convincingly, without much worry, I guess, because it is something that we fully understand and we believe in. So, for situations like assessments, for example, by trying to fully understand your materials beforehand can really help you present them well, inshallah. I hope those 4 tips are helpful. If you need more answers or detailed answers, you can contact me personally, inshallah. I understand the concerns of an introvert in law school. I totally understand you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sister Sharifah, because sometimes I personally as some macam sedikit lah extrovert, because I'm actually like in the middle, because I'm not that extrovert, I'm not that introvert as well, but sometimes I also don't really understand how introvert life is actually been, because I've never been in those kind of field before. Okay, the next question will be it was from Brother Fayyad. I guess I assume the question is sounds like this. How to deal with the lectures if we intentionally don't like them because of they don't understand what position we are in right now. How to deal with the lectures, how to actually give macam senang cerita je, macam mana kita nak berbaik dengan lecturer yang kita tiba-tiba tak suka secara tiba-tiba sebab dia tak faham macam mana apa benda yang kita hadapi sekarang. Macam itulah soalan dia. Sila Brother Adib.
All right. So I think I've been to a few webinars before this, like even sharing sessions. I think these are some of the questions I think most of us have ever heard before. And generally, I do say that we might have like controversial issues with some of our lectures, perhaps, and we might not like them, or they might not like us, or it also goes both ways. But at the end of the day, I think these lecturers, these are the ones who provide us, the doctors, the madams, the sirs. They're the ones who are not to say giver of knowledge. Allah is the one who actually provides us with the knowledge. But one thing that we have to understand in the classroom is that we are students. It is truly our obligation to actually seek for knowledge. And in that journey and in that path for us to achieve that knowledge, it's not something that goes on, for example, going to class, understanding, then boom, you're smart. It doesn't go that way. It's something that you have to actually understand. Not all lecturers are the same. Not all of their methods are the same. And though you might have controversial issues with them, you might not like the way that they teach you, it's not something for you to change. I believe that I heard like a simple lecture from my principal earlier today, which is about cognitive behavioral therapy, which is that humans are going through this triangular, where's my triangle? So this is my triangle, right? So it goes on between three parts, which is behavior, feeling, and also our thoughts. So what it means by is that our thoughts link on to our behavior, it links onto our feelings, and it goes on every single way of itself. But where does this triangular circle goes from is it comes from an event. It comes from where, for example, does that event make you sad or happy? Let's say you have an assignment, right? So you have an assignment of 10 pages and you have to submit it within a week. So it goes on to your thoughts. You're thinking, oh my God, I have no time to finish this. I'm so tired. I don't even think that I can work with my other teammates. And because of your thoughts like that, it goes on for you to actually feel a different way. You feel, for example, sad, you feel demotivated. You don't feel like as if you want to do work anymore. And you feel like as if, I shouldn't just do anything anymore. I'll just give up. And that leads on to your behavior, which you just procrastinate. You don't do work. And at the end of the day, you get nothing done. And that circle will go on and on and on and on until you find a way to actually solve it. And if you don't, then you'll be stuck there forever. One thing about this is that when you do find a situation that might not entertains you in such a way, for example, not being in a class with a lecturer you like, you cannot change the event. The event cannot change. For example, oh, doctor, I don't like the way you teach. Probably you can teach us using Canva next time rather than PowerPoint. You cannot simply change that. They're not the ones who are providing the way that you like simplistically. What you can do is that you're trying to find a way to actually cater to that. And that way is for you to actually accept, learn, and also try to improve yourself even. And though you might not like the lecture, let's say, why not for a start, why not for a change, try to actually find a way to actually like it, not say like it, but find a way for you to actually entertain yourself in that class. For example, oh, the doctor is rapping so fast, he's speaking 4,000 words a second, let's say, and I have no idea what he or she is talking about. Well, try to catch up the points that he or she is trying to talk about. Let's say it's about homeostasis and you don't understand a bit. So what you can do is try to make notes, you find other learning methods. It's not something that you can change, truly. This is what I want to say. It's not anything that you can change all the time. You can change it through feedbacks or the SFS survey, I believe. But what you can do right now is try to actually adapt to it. And I think I've said this earlier before, which is students need to be adaptable. You need to learn that in classrooms, in lectures, nothing's the same. Nothing goes the way you want it. So what you can do as a student is you learn to adapt to it. And if you really do have, for example, serious problems with the lecture, you might as well just talk to a counselor, or you can actually just talk to the lecturer face to face. It's something that might actually resolve, for example, or the lecturer didn't like you because you never finished her assignment. So that's why she doesn't like me. That explains all the negative marks. So it's not sometimes because that he or she doesn't like you. It's something that you might have to resolve at the end of the day. So my final message is when you actually face these kinds of situations, learn a way to actually think, also a little bit positive of it, and try to improve yourself and the relations that you have within you and inshallah your lecturer.
All right, thank you to Brother Adi for the enlightened with the question, because we can see that we can't change the environment. We can change how we see them throughout our academic journey, throughout our day. So with that last question, it already concludes our segment, our program. Our last question for this program, Lexbuzz New Semester Hack. Ladies and gentlemen, finally we reach the conclusion of our primary show, Lexbuzz tonight. We'd like to thank our panelists again for tonight for their instructive and entertaining tips, methods, and sharing, as well as the audience for your active engagement. Don't forget to fill up your attendance. Don't forget to click your attendance. And because of what, you don't want to miss it, because you don't want to miss the start point.
All right. Hopefully, we will be able to put into practice the knowledge and benefits that we have gained today. So again, thank you so much to all the panelists. Very impactful sharing, Alhamdulillah. But before that, let us have a photography session. So the audience on Zoom, you may also switch on your camera to join us.
Let's join us. Okay, the audience who are in the Zoom.
For Nick Essen, link for attendance is available on YouTube. All right. Zed,
Okay.
you akan tangan kan? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So boleh buat kamera Okay. 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 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, sekali. Freestyle. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay dah.
All right.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Thank you so much to our panelists. Let's end our program today with the recitation of Tasbih Kafarah and Surah Al-As. Okay, with that, we end our program with Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah.
wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night, everyone.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you so
Continue
much.
going to your assignment. Night.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you for joining.
Good night.
Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you for the organizing committee. Good job for tonight. Okay, good night. Good job for you guys. Okay. Can we actually end live session?
Kita end